the kind of guy who, if the door says don't come in, well, he'll open the door and he'll go in. It's amazing what you'll find out if you do that, if you open yourself to just new adventures.
My dad was the type of person that would just kind of befriend anybody and strike up a conversation with anyone he would meet on the street or wherever.
We have a friend in the neighborhood, and he's an artist in Rochester. Richard ran into him and said, "Oh, this is great what you're doing with these murals." And he said, "If I give you $20, would you do one of me?"
An inspiring reuse of this major monument must be undertaken in place. The Hojack is almost indestructibly built 100 feet down to Genesee bedrock.
I remember him being obsessed over the Hojack Bridge.
Save the bridge. We love Hojack. We love our harbor. We love Rochester. Get it together, crowd. Don't give it up for one or two yacht owners over there.
And he used to go on the swing bridge with my daughter, his daughter, and they would canoe over the river.
And he would have us climb over that bridge when it used to be where you could climb over it across the Genesee. It was probably super dangerous, but we would climb to the very top of that bridge, and he always just loved that bridge.
And notice I'm wearing a shallot shirt and an Irondequoit hat. My daughter was raised and born on
the bridge. He wanted to save that bridge in the worst way, but it met its demise anyway. It was in the way, holding up traffic, keeping boats out. So I don't know what his real goal was with regard to the bridge, but it would bring more as scrap iron than it would by sitting in water there.
That he felt things like that he felt were a part of the city of Rochester or had some kind of value in preserving, that were part of our history, our heritage, were worth preserving. And so he would fight tooth and nail to preserve them, even if it basically pissed off everyone else.
Well, Richard's just a free spirit. If you could deal with him always being late and always wanting to have his own way, he was a good guy.
Go, come on, Sable. Now don't pull too hard, Sable. Good girl. Come on, Ruby. Dana, let's go, baby. I wonder if you puppies appreciate the history of the Public Universal Friends compound up there in the top of the valley. See, it's got
one of the earliest people which were on the green movement, decades before it all began, today, he was trying to save the earth. I would have to endure long lectures on why I am polluting things with my race cars and things like that. So.
That's ambient sound. That's deforestation. That's somebody some asshole with their chainsaw.
He had this museum called the Maritime Discovery Center, which was his way of not only saving things and preserving nature, but he also wanted to make sure that children and other people were educated about these things.
He saved ships that were supposed to be demolished, and he saved them as educational ships.
Environmental enthusiast Richard Swacen spent $10,000 of his own money on the center. He believes that the city and Ontario Beach Committee used code violations as a smokescreen to shut him down.
This combination of possible fraud, conspiring to defraud,
wanted to keep it afloat, but unfortunately, in that case, the efforts didn't really pay off, and they shut down the museum.
They're claiming it's theirs. See, I know it's not, but little things stand to get in the way of the big $1 million claim going.
I remember clearly I went to see him, and my mom said, "Oh, your dad is going to be on the news. Your dad's going to be on the news."
I'll come down here on the assurance that this thing not be further touched or damaged or moved. Otherwise, I'm not coming down.
The lighthouse, they were going to demolish it. He decided one day that he was going to go over, and he got up on top of it and refused to get down.
Yeah, Mayor's secretary has said that he's coming to the phone. Yes, hello, is this Mayor Johnson? But right now we have a very immediate issue of attempting to save what is really a very, very, very important symbol of our whole maritime heritage. The tower.
So eventually, somebody saw this and said, we'll save it. And they took it and moved it. It's still there in the backyard. Someone would have to put it together again. But anyway, he saved it.
So I just remember thinking as a kid, like, this is really embarrassing, but like kind of interesting at the same time. Because he was always
saving. Always saving.
Also, do you know anything about the story about the mural of him in the Rochester subway tunnels?
The story that I know is that we have a friend in the neighborhood whose name is Steve Dorabella, and he's an artist. And I guess he ran into him, and Richard ran into him, and he said, if I give you $20, would you do one of me? So he said, oh, sure. He just felt he wanted to be there under the river. He's always trying to save the river. So it was appropriate that there he is in the tunnel.
He just always had like a love for life, you know, like I just remember when we would be driving, he would be like, look out the window, you're missing the world. I think because I was young at that time, I didn't maybe understand or appreciate it, you know, as much as I do now. And so I wish I could talk to him a little bit more about it now, but he doesn't have as many memories of it as I would hope.
Who's gonna do this? Nora!
I hope that, you know, for my own kids, they hold that love of life for themselves too, that he had and I think still has, although now that he has Alzheimer's, you know, it's kind of in a different way, but he brought that love of life, love of the earth, love of nature that I don't think too many people can really say that they either have to that extent or that they really fight for.